Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you for meeting with me today. I'm just going to ask you some questions
Okay.
about your culture. Please describe your culture or ethnic background.
Okay. My dad is from Pakistan, and my mom is from Japan.
What is your definition of culture?
I guess the different traditions that you grow up with, and your family. And in my case, the dynamics were in Japan, I had a different culture, and Pakistan had a different culture. So we did completely different things because they're two completely different cultures. So I don't know if that answered your question. But.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
And then how do you define family?
Family is a unit that lives together and operates together. So.
Do you eat foods that are indigenous to your culture?
Yes.
Why or why not?
Because it's soul food. It's what you were brought up with. So my mom used to cook Japanese food and Pakistani food, and she still does. So I have both, the best of both worlds.
And what types of foods did you eat?
Oh, all sorts of Japanese food. We didn't eat sushi because that's the first thing that people think of when they think of Japan. It's like there's so many other things that are better than sushi.
Right. Gotcha.
But, and in Pakistan, there's a whole. There are 5 different provinces, and so each province has a different food type. And some are spicy, some are not spicy, and some use different kinds of spices. So some are dry, like kebabs, and some are like stews. It just depends on if you're near the desert or if you're near the sea, what you would eat.
That makes sense. Did you ever live with your grandparents or extended family?
I was born, and my grandfather from my dad's side already passed away. Grandmother, she passed away 6 months after I was born. So I don't really recall her. I have pictures with her, but I don't recall her. I was still a baby. My mom's side, we used to visit Japan twice a year. So we would stay there for the summer and then for the winter break. And my grandfather passed away when I was a teenager. My grandmother's still alive. She's 100 and some. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's good genes.
I get to see her next year. Go to Japan and see her next year. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
I know.
Nice. How important is religion in your family?
Ooh. Okay. In my immediate family?
Yeah, or your extended family, or like how you grew up.
Okay. So, my situation was really weird because I was born in Pakistan, which is a Muslim country, but I went to a Catholic institution for school. So I was completely immersed in Catholicism at school, and then apart from that, when I came home, my dad and my mom are not like the religious people. But my dad's family tend to be moderately religious, but there was never extreme religion,
Right.
But from my mom's end, she converted to marry my dad, so.
Oh, okay.
So I never really had like Shintoism in my life. But,
Okay, I gotcha.
yeah. But I mean, we did the regular, what every kid does in Muslim countries, which is fast when, it's fasting time and
Right.
celebrate all the wonderful occasions and
Gotcha.
all of that.
Yeah.
But nothing, it didn't determine what we did on a day-to-day basis ever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Do you have any rituals that are specific to your culture?
Well, from my dad's side, the rituals, the culture in Pakistan, in Muslim countries, it comes from the religion. So it's, the fasting is a ritual. The celebration of the different things that have happened that we are taught
Right.
is part of the culture. So
Gotcha.
we, from my mom's side, no. I mean, New Year's is awesome because you get tons of money.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But apart from that, no.
Gotcha. Let's see. Describe, which you kind of already did, but describe the most important holiday or celebration in your culture.
Okay. So, Eid, there are 2 Eids, and those are basically One is a celebration of when Adam took, Abraham took his son Isaac to the mountain,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah.
To sacrifice him. And so our belief system is that he was converted into a goat and by God. And so that is the celebration that happens right after fasting.
Oh.
Nope, that is the celebration that happens. That's the other Eid. The celebration that happens right after fasting is the celebration of fasting.
Oh,
So
okay.
those are the two biggies in Islam.
Yeah.
But in Japan we never celebrated anything because we were I don't know.
Yeah.
We were never really there to celebrate.
Gotcha. Yeah.
New Year's was awesome.
Right.
They don't celebrate Christmas the way that they do here. So
Oh, they
it's
don't.
not the same. Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause
Is it like
my-
not a big deal or not?
Well, I guess in Christian families it is, but my mom's family wasn't Christian
Right.
when we were growing up. They are now, but
Gotcha.
when we were growing up, my grandmother they were Shinto, so that's what my mom grew up with, and they don't have those kind of like in Buddhism, they don't have those kinds of big things that happen.
Yeah.
But we went to the temples. That was awesome. Like you go to the temple and you pray, and that's awesome. And you have the
Yeah.
sweets.
Oh, that's nice. Love to see the temples. I bet they're beautiful.
Oh, they're awesome. They're like humongous.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Humongous. Yeah, it's awesome.
Let's see. Do you speak your native language?
Yes.
And will you teach it to your child?
Oh boy. So I try.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
very hard. So yes, I do. I speak Urdu, which is the national language of Pakistan. But then I speak Punjabi, which is the dialect language that my dad comes from, because all provinces have their own languages.
Oh, okay.
So that was his language, and so I speak that, but it's not a written language. It's an oral language.
Oh, okay.
And then when I was growing up, my mom tried to teach us Japanese, and it just never stuck. But I can listen to somebody talking, but I will not converse back because I'm not proficient enough in doing that.
Right.
As far as teaching your child, I can understand now why my mom had such a hard time teaching us, because
Okay.
you really need like two parents, or at least have a household that
That's,
really
like, speaking
speaks
fluently,
it all the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had, I couldn't do that, so.
Yeah.
So it's because at home, I think when we were growing up, we learned English in school, but we also spoke English at home because both my parents spoke English.
Right.
So we spoke English and Urdu at home because my mom speaks it too. So.
Gotcha.
So I think it was that's why we learned all
Right.
those languages, because it was always in the house. Like,
Yeah.
everybody spoke it.
Right. That makes sense. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I knew another language.
It's hard.
I know. You really do have to be immersed in it,
And it's hard because, I'm starting, especially when I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize, there are certain words, I'll think the word, but it's in a different language. I have to, sit there and, come up with the word for the language that I'm speaking with that
Right.
person, and it's just annoying.
That's interesting.
It's weird.
I always wondered
the
how people
brain is
thought.
trying to,
Yeah.
separate thoughts. It's
I
not
can see
doing it
that.
as fluidly as it used to.
Gotcha.
It makes me think I'm like an Alzheimer's patient sometimes. It's
No.
weird.
That's hilarious. No. But that's amazing. Because I'm sure the brain, I always wondered how that worked when you know more than one language, how it would function. Yeah, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
You having to stop and think.
Processing is
Yeah.
weird.
That's interesting. Let's see. How is physical contact viewed in your culture? Like hugging and things like that.
Okay, so Japanese culture, they really don't have a lot of personal space.
Gotcha.
So they do, when they bow, they're pretty close to each other, And in Pakistan, there's a lot of personal space because they don't believe in that kind of interaction with people.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you're not really allowed to interact with males or females unless it's
Right.
your mom or dad or whatever. But there's not, when we were growing up, it's actually kind of weird. There's no word for love in Urdu when it relates to a child and a parent.
Oh, interesting.
There is for intimate for lovers, but it's not for, a kid. So the way you show affection is by adding things to words, like, or saying things that are affectionate more it, but you don't say like, I love you.
Gotcha.
And then, there's a lot of stigma between like girls anyway in the culture. So girls and their fathers, and, most of the time, the boys are given more importance than the girls. They're trying to change this. It's gonna happen, but it's still relatively new.
Right. Gotcha.
The change.
Yeah.
And the country's only 50-some years old. So
right.
It's gonna take a long time for all those cultural barriers that have been there for so long.
Right.
To,
Yeah, that's interesting to think about that, like the modern day, how things change.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's see. So what is considered to be disrespectful in your culture?
Oh, so many things.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
What's
the
like
biggest one, the biggest Asian thing, and you might hear that from people, is, egg on your face. Like, do never do anything to disrespect your parents.
Oh,
so that if your actions show the world how you were brought up. So if you do something wrong, it is immediately perceived as your parents did not raise you right. So it's on your parents, and so the parents will always say, like, don't do anything that like if you do something, then it's like on them.
Gotcha.
And so it's mostly built on guilt.
Yeah. I kind of wish we had more of that. In our
It's
society,
a lot of guilt.
We need a little more put on the parents, I think.
Yeah, well, but it's both ways. I mean, sometimes that's a little too much too.
Yeah,
I
true,
mean, you're guilting your kid constantly into not doing things or doing things right. Instead of like telling them this is why you should be doing something.
Yeah, makes sense.
It needs to be a balance.
That's true.
Yeah.
I know guilt worked with me.
Oh, girl, it worked with me. It works with her.
Easy child in that way.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
make me feel bad about something, and then I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah. I know. And we had a joke, because my sister and I were at a convent, and our joke was like, we have really strong Catholic guilt because it's just
Yeah. I know, right? Me too. About everything. I'm like, why am I like that? Catholic school.
Yeah, exactly.
Good times.
It's inbred into you.
It really
it's like
is.
in every single pore of your being.
That is so true. Let's see. What is considered to be most respectful in your culture?
Obeying your parents from my dad's side. Obeying, you have, that's the word that they use, is to obey your parents.
Gotcha.
Which is, some people think that's fine, and some people have an issue with that, because, you're not somebody's slave to be doing that, but, and this is not just childhood. This is like when you're 40, 50, 60 years old.
Right.
You're still obeying your parents. So you're like an adult, and your parent tells you something, you have to do it.
Right.
And these are life choices. This is not just,
like who you marry,
don't drink
like
tea, or,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not,
Yeah.
And from my mom's end, I don't really think that. Well, I guess being respectful to your elders is definitely a big thing.
Right.
That I can remember from both sides of the family.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense. What would you say is the most commonly held misconception about people of your culture?
how long do you have?
I know, right? I'm sure there's a lot.
Well, let's see.
People always have misconceptions. about
Well, let's
people.
start with the shorter one. Japanese. We don't all like to take a camera and take photographs everywhere.
True.
For that matter, I actually, once I went into college, I refused to have a camera and take pictures because I was in the U.S. and that's all I heard all the time.
Yeah.
That stereotype. I'm like, and yes, there's a reason why there's a stereotype. I get that. It's not that, but it was just annoying.
Everybody else.
I'm not going to perpetuate that stereotype, but I think what's the other thing? Like I said, the food, sushi. Like for some reason, automatically when people think of Japan and food, it's like sushi. Like, dude, like not everybody eats sushi in Japan too. I mean, it's kind of like saying everybody eats hamburgers in the United States.
Right.
Not everybody eats that.
Right.
I mean, they might have tried it once or twice, but
Yeah.
So it's kind of Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Those are like the two biggies. And then in Pakistan, oh boy. Well, not all Muslims are terrorists.
Oh yeah.
So that's a big one.
Yeah. Do you think that's decreased over the years or no?
No.
Still there. Strong.
I think it's not that it's gotten worse. It was always there.
Yeah.
I think situations make people
worse.
bring out the worst of themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so their stereotype, if they even had one in the background, came up in the foreground of like, oh yeah, these people are horrible because, you know, because somebody on Facebook the other day, a person that I know very well from Puerto Rico, you know, he wrote on there, he had the 9/11 picture, and it said something like, his caption was, you know, this is the reason why I don't give a crap what Muslims have to say, or what problems Muslims have, or whatever. And I wrote back and I said, all of us?
I know, that's a lot.
Like, because nobody asked me about 9/11, and I didn't give my consent, so why put that all on us? I mean, that's, you know, but...
Yeah, it's crazy people still feel that way.
A few, but, you know, as soon as it happened, I was like, a few people just ruined it for the rest of the world.
Wow.
And that's what happened.
Yeah, there's bad people in every culture.
Well, there are. Also, we don't ride camels.
Oh, yeah.
That was the one big thing. When I went to England. Gotcha. And the first question they asked me was, do you ride camels?
Oh, really?
And I said, no. I said, yes, I do ride camels at the beach. We ride camels at the beach. And we ride horses at the beach. Yeah. But not as a mode of transportation. Right. We have cars. I mean, we're not, you know.
That's funny.
Like,
I know, weird.
It's weird how people think. Well, it's a stereotype because they watch, like, I think I was having this conversation with somebody about how in Pakistan they think that everybody in the U.S. drinks, smokes, is wealthy. There's there's gangbangers everywhere. Right. I mean, there's no concept of actual real life because they don't see that.
Yeah, that's true.
In movies, because that's not what movies are made on. Their only way of finding out about a culture is that's what we all do, is through TV. That's our media. So a lot of people here think, or in Europe think that whatever it is what they see on TV and movies, and it's usually terrorists. Right. Or people on camels. Right. Documentaries. People on Bedouins on camels.
That's true though, yeah, those people don't usually get a lot of like knowledge from other places.
No, they don't. They don't.
It's generally like one thing, you know.
Yeah.
Well, the rest of us like research stuff.
Exactly. And, but then that's a lot of work for people, and they don't want to do it, and they're just sad.
It is sad because they miss out on knowing what the people are really like. You know?
Exactly.
Let's see. Have you ever experienced racism and what form?
Oh, yeah. So, let's see. Well, so growing up, right? So my sister and I wore Western clothing. We wore Eastern clothing too, but we wore mostly shirts and pants, or shirts and skirts, or dresses. Because my dad and my mom were perfectly fine with us doing that. And I don't ever recall anybody saying anything, except for one time when my dad's sister, she said something like, "Oh, look, now y'all look like your dad's children." Which didn't ring a bell at all. At that time, I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But then when I got older, and I was like, okay, I get what she was saying. It's like, we didn't dress like them. I don't look Pakistani at all. I have more of my mom's Asian than my dad's Asian on the other side. So, and then when we went to England, there was a lot of stereotyping because it was a boarding school, and there were very rich girls that knew almost nothing, 14-year-olds, and, they just, it's, in England, it's kind of different racism than here, because they are very open and blunt about it.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Very much.
My friends have said that.
Like, and I almost appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because you know where you stand with somebody. When what you're dealing with. Right. Over here, it's a little PC'd out.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, but, yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
What do you think can be done about racism and prejudice, in your opinion?
Education.
Yeah, true.
It's a big one.
That's where it
Letting
begins.
people, I mean, and I know, I mean, it's hard. Honestly, you know, it's very easy to have a narrow mind about something if you're only given one perspective.
Yeah.
And I was never given one perspective. I had, you know, the Muslim culture and I had the Christian culture put together. And I had my mom's culture and my dad's culture, which were completely opposite put together. So I never had one view,
Yeah, that's
which
true.
I love, that I never had one
Yeah.
view on anything. I always knew there was always another side.
Right.
It was all, and that's, I think, how, like, I appreciate that
Yeah.
tremendously. But, you know, honestly, education, if we just educate our kids,
True.
and I don't even, and but you know, family is such a important part in both those cultures and even the U.S. So it's got to start inside the dynamics of the family,
Right.
and I don't know how you even do that.
I know, that's the tricky part.
So you have to start with a new generation
Right.
that teaches the old generation
That's
how
true.
not to do something rather than the other way around.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because, I mean, even in the South, like, we have people who, you know, have issues, and I don't think those will ever go away.
Yeah.
But the new generation that comes, and it's not that you're saying that it's not relevant, whatever their issues are, it's that we understand, we accept it, we acknowledge it, and now let's try and make it a place where everybody is equal and works together.
Yeah.
Instead of, I mean, we're all gonna blame each other. It's just natural. It's human behavior to do that. It's
Yeah.
not something that, you know, we always don't want to be wrong.
Right.
That's a human thing. So I don't
That's
know
true.
how
And if
you-
we worked together, we would be so much more powerful.
Oh gosh,
We have
yes.
so many of us, you know.
Especially
everybody knows
if all the
different
women work together, we would really. I mean, this world would be a whole lot better place, man.
Change the world.
It would change the world. It would be amazing.
Yeah, we need more women, for sure. I feel like it's slowly happening, you know, but we need more, like in government and stuff.
Well, yeah.
Let's see. Do you think that young people today have a sense of culture? Which you kind of answered a little bit.
I think it depends on the culture.
Yeah, that's true.
So some cultures are very adamant on keeping their, you know,
Yeah.
hold on their kids.
Right.
And then there's some that just don't. I mean, like in the U.S., I guess Italian. Like, we'll take Italians. Italians are very, you know, they're like, okay,
That's true.
I'm Italian. It's not like anything else. If you're Italian, you eat the food, you do the
Right.
family. You know, that's the Italian thing. And
Right.
and so like Vietnamese, when they come here, it's a very tight knit group of people that, you know,
That's true.
and I mean, and some have lived here. I had friends whose parents never learned the language because they never needed to,
Yeah.
because they didn't interact with anybody other than Vietnamese people.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, some cultures is important. I think Japanese, when they come here, they tend to learn the language because they want to promote like progression and you know, like, I guess it's not wealthier, but do well,
Right.
you know, and have ambition. And so they tend to learn the language and
Yeah.
then assimilate more
Right.
into the U.S.
Gotcha.
rather than some Asian cultures that don't do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I feel like it's sad when people come to this country and then don't teach their children. They are still keep their language with their children.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel that's sad, you know? I get they want to stimulate, but you can do both, you know?
Oh yeah, no, I in college, in my speech class, I still remember this Vietnamese guy, and he was like, he didn't have a good grasp of the English language, so I assumed he was an international student. But no, he had come here when he was 5 years old,
Oh, wow.
and the only time that he ever spoke English, well, it's kind of like our kids in Preston.
Yeah.
The only time they ever spoke English was I was at school.
Yeah.
Everything else was Vietnamese for him. So
True.
he never learned the language properly, which
Yeah.
is so weird. But
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know, right?
What is the best thing about living in the USA?
The food.
That's true. It's very diverse, you know?
Oh yeah,
There's so many
you've
kinds
got
of food.
you've got all you can go to the market and get all sorts of food. The accessibility, like, you know, ATMs. You don't think about it, but there are not a lot of countries that have ATMs just lying around somewhere for you to take your money out
That's
of.
true.
You know, I mean, just hospitals. It's just, I think it's the modernization of the country,
That's true, yeah.
and because I wouldn't go back and live in Pakistan.
Oh,
I
no.
love it, but there's no way.
Yeah.
Well, first the heat would kill me.
Right.
So,
Yeah. It seems
and they have so much load shedding there, so that there's not electricity. There's no
Oh,
electricity for like 18 hours of the day.
Oh, wow.
Or 20 hours of the day. I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah.
So,
That's a
yeah.
different lifestyle.
It is a different lifestyle. So it's like, I don't know if, I don't know, I think probably me. I decided that this was going to work for me, or what was working for me I decided was good.
Yeah.
I don't know which way it went, but I don't even know if that made any sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just having so much that you can do here. The opportunities are absolutely endless.
Right.
I mean, there's no other country, literally, like, there's no other country, well, there are other countries, but there are not a lot of countries where you can completely fail in life and build yourself back up.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
And you can do that here.
Right.
I mean, it's weird
Yeah.
how that happens, but there's a lot of opportunities. People just don't realize there are so many opportunities that
That's
they can
true, yeah.
actually have,
Yeah.
you know.
That is very true. I know. I sometimes forget about that. But
And
it's good to
honestly, I
remember.
mean, there's like everywhere else, but you know, like on those posts and stuff where people go, I don't have any money to pay for my bills. I just lost my job, and people will just give
like
money.
donate money.
They
Yeah.
just donate money.
Yeah,
Like,
that's so nice.
you know, and Americans are the first one when they have like the Haiti relief or whatever reliefs.
Yeah.
We're the first people to give anything, you know, we have, which is
Right.
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's nice. What do you think is the worst thing about living in the USA?
there's some fruit that I cannot have here.
Oh, really?
They come from Pakistan.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, there are some fruits. Well, I won't have them anywhere except in Pakistan. So,
Wow.
because you can't bring them here anymore. So, you know,
Gotcha.
and they're so delicate that they can't be, like, you can't go to Buford Farmer's Market and buy them either because they won't have it.
Gotcha.
So, yes.
So they just don't
There's
travel
some
well?
fruits. Yes, they
Yeah.
don't travel well. Some fruits, just, yeah. I am very much missing.
That's
Sadly, yes.
I know, it's like too
But-
bad that's not the kind of thing you just have someone trip over, like.
No, and even like the mangoes, like people like, oh, you know, but they have mangoes. It's not the same mango.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
not
different.
just because it's a mango doesn't mean it's the mango.
Right.
There are lots of different kinds of mangoes.
I know, I never
So,
realized that, like,
yeah.
until I
Yeah,
met other
that's
people.
different.
They're
Yeah.
talking about different kinds of fruit. I
Yeah.
never even knew that.
Oh yeah. But I can get a lot of East Asian fruits I can get. So like, you know, like the rambutans and the lychees and the, I don't know, all of the other ones, the East Asian ones, those are like, I can get here, but not the
Yeah.
ones from Pakistan. Those don't travel.
Have you ever felt excluded based on your gender or culture? No, that's good.
I don't think I have the patience for that.
Yeah.
I think I just probably push
People just know
myself
better.
into that situation. I don't think I would be just like sitting there like, I'm not getting included in this.
You're like, no, I'm gonna make this happen.
No. Yeah, I don't think I've ever felt that.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Maybe I should have, but I never felt that.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You're a strong person.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Or senile lives.
I know. I feel like the older I get, the less I care about what
Yes.
other people think.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm just gonna
Exactly.
insert myself. What's happening?
Yes.
And then the last one is there anything you would like others to know that we have not included about you or your culture? You gave us lots of information, which is awesome.
I think I gave you a lot of information. I just
Yeah.
honestly I can't think of anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, there's tons of stuff, but I mean,
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
yeah.
I'm
No.
sure there's so much, but you did a great job. You gave us lots of stuff. Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you for doing this.
You should get an A.
I hope so. All right, I will stop that.